various organizations have stepped in to assist Jagersfontein residents who, as we now know, were displaced after Sunday's tragic dam wall collapse. Meals on Wheels has been one organization on the ground in Jagersfontein, providing cooked meals, clean water and blankets to the community. The non-profit is calling on corporate and government entities to also come on board and assist. So let's get you their take on just how bad the situation is with CEO Nelisa Mabenge, who joins us via our video link this morning. Nelisa, great to have you with us on the program. You're one of the organizations doing some great work to try and address some of the needs in Jagersfontein. For our viewers who don't live in the area, just paint a picture of what residents face in Jagersfontein following that disaster.
Good morning to you, Michelle, and good morning to your viewers as well. So we were one of the first responders on the ground. We sent through our task team in the Free State to go and assess the situation on the ground. So they did come back with a couple of stats in terms of how many families have been displaced, what the needs are in terms of food and clean water to drink, etc. So we then returned the following day. This is now day 2, and we came back with the necessary goods and services for the displaced communities. So up to date, we have now fed 1,500 people. We've also provided 1,500 clean water bottles for them to drink. And we're also currently going to be providing blankets and also some clothing items that they have lost during the flood. So we're working very closely with the Department of Social Development, and we're working closely with the Office of the President as well, who has shown high appreciation for our early arrival and assistance to the situation.
Yeah, and I imagine residents feel exactly the same way. For your Meals on Wheels members, the people who are part of your organization, part of that first response team going to Jagersfontein, you know, when they were reporting back to your office about what they found there, what did they say?
Devastating situation. The roads were closed off. It was highly flooded, especially on day 1. So we had to take the long way around, which took us a bit longer to get there. But I think it really did help to work in partnership with some of the helicopter services that were up in the air, assessing the situation and giving us intel each and every hour. So I think we were actually able to get there. The communities were devastated. People were crying. They've lost their identity documents. They've lost their clothing items. The only clothing they had was the clothing they had on themselves. So I think a lot of people were just displaced, not just physically, but also emotionally and mentally as well. So I think this is the part where we are now going to tap into our caregiving service, which actually deals more with the psychological aspect in terms of assisting victims in disasters of this nature. So our caregiving service will be now coming in through to make sure that after this terrible crisis, that they are there to help these victims to overcome this situation mentally and emotionally as well.
In fact, Nelisa, tell us more about just exactly what that kind of help would entail when you say that your caregiving service now kicks in. Tell us more.
So I think over and above, firstly, items of food, water, etc., there are other dignity items, that are more private that individuals will need in terms of the underclothing. So that is not something you can just distribute, and you'd really have to profile your displaced families in terms of age, in terms of size, etc. So we are going to be providing vouchers and coupons for them to be able to at least exercise their privacy in that aspect and attaining the necessary goods that they do need in terms of underclothing. But I think over and above that, just to tap into the more mental and emotional displacement, our caregivers are qualified to provide the necessary psychological support. So that would also include some level of profiling in terms of assisting them to overcome the situation to overcome this current disaster and displacement. There's a lot that goes into the mind during a crisis like this. There's a lot of loss that goes into it as well. So they're not only displaced, from a physical aspect, but I think emotionally as well. It does take a toll on any human being. As I'm sure, Michelle, if you were displaced right now, it would really put you in a very, very vulnerable state. So I think our caregiving service then comes in once we have fed, once we have settled you in somehow, to then at least take care more of the emotional and mental aspect. So our caregivers will be on the ground to assist the communities and family members to overcome this devastating crisis.
Incredible work being done by organizations like Meals on Wheels. And yeah, you're absolutely right. It's hard to wrap your mind around what you would go through having your home and all of your belongings swept away. How do you begin to pick up the pieces? Nelisa Mabenge, let me thank you for your time this morning. The CEO of Meals on Wheels, not only responding insofar as providing hot meals following that disaster in Jagersfontein, but also providing a whole range of other types of social assistance insofar as helping people get back on their feet.